Hello, everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on June the 13th, 2016. And well, this is the final show before the Money in the Bank pay per view. And there are certain segments of the show that I'll say, great, I want to see this pay per view. Then there's other segments of this show, it's like, I don't care how good those matches could be, I don't want to watch this. And that opening segment was one of them. That opening segment with Enzo Amore, Colin Cassidy, basically the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. And I won't give a knock to just one of these teams. I think it was just the writing they were given and what they tried to pull off. It did not work. This is that show that you're supposed to be selling the pay-per-view, and they kind of just gloss over it. Like, it's like, oh yeah, Sunday, we're in the tag team title match, so put those shoes. Okay, those shoes. Apparently, I guess Kofi Kingston forgot his ring boots for the week, so he's out there in gym shoes. And you have Xavier, Big E, Cass, and Enzo making fun of them. Von Villains come out to interrupt that, and Aiden English brings back the little singing gimmick, which wasn't bad. That one portion wasn't bad, and then. Gallows and Anderson come out, and they go on the full-on serious route. This does lead into the 8-man tag match that they for that night, which was right afterwards. By the way, this first segment and the 8-man tag took up the first 30 minutes of the show. Good 30 minutes of the show. And in all honesty, the 8-man tag was actually kind of good. That match was actually a lot of fun to watch. Club goes over in this case, and not a bad way of going, kind of re-solidifying or making it the true point that these guys are the biggest threat in this match. And that's what they need to be right now. So I actually liked where they went with that match. A couple good spots in there. Like I said, this was an enjoyable match to watch. It was just that opening segment with all four teams was just... It took way too long, and honestly, it was cringeworthy where they were going with everything. You had Zack Ryder backstage, also in the show. He was kind of poking fun at what happened with Sheamus because he was there where Apollo Crews punked out Sheamus on SmackDown. So Sheamus comes up, starts... you get the normal jibber jabber, and eventually leads into a match that was later that night. Zack Ryder and Sheamus, that match was really weird. Like, Sheamus wins it quickly, like you would expect, but pretty much the entire set of offense was Zack Ryder. He was the one gaining the most offense throughout the match, and it just kind of ends with a brogue kick. Sheamus continues on that beatdown, and Apollo Crews comes out and makes a save. So just more solidifying the match, because they announced as well that Sheamus would be facing Apollo Crews at the pay-per-view. I think it's part of the pre-match, the pre-show as well. I'm not sure if it's pre-show or main show. I think it's pre-show, and you got Crews and Sheamus up against, and then you have also got Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, who don't show up on this show, but you have them in another match. Again. Okay. That's the third straight pay-per-view that they've been on the pre-show. They need to be somewhere else with those guys at some point in time. Shining Stars had a promo. They've basically had one match, and it was a very underwhelming return for these guys so far. So they had one match, kind of quiet crowd, and now they're back to just vignettes again. Where are they going with this? How much longer are they going to want to go with this before they just kind of throw them out there as a jobber team? I don't know. It just does not feel like it's clicking in any way. They're trying to be heels, but it doesn't feel like it's clicking for some odd reason. We'll see when they get back out there in the crowd, because obviously they had the one time out there, but the crowd was pretty much silent the entire time for these guys. So we'll see where they go with everything, and see if something different happens the next time that they're actually out there in front of the crowd. But we need to see them out there in front of the crowd again to see whether or not this is gonna work or not. So we'll see when that actually happens. And what can I say about this entire first hour other than it was one match, a bunch of promos, and a beatdown to go along with it. The Titus O'Neil comes out for a match. He gets beaten down and pretty much taken out by Rusev. And don't get me wrong, this match has needed some kind of heat behind it because, well, one, it's pretty much just been Titus calling out Rusev. Now he has a match, and Titus has not even had. Titus O'Neil hasn't even had a match since coming back from his suspension, so it almost makes no sense here for them to even have this match. But this is at least a decent way of trying to build some kind of heat there going into the match. Most people probably aren't caring about this match at this point in time. Kind of wish they were going in a different route with it, but we'll see how that match turns out on the pay-per-view itself. And yeah, all in all, like I said, not a bad segment, but and like I said, this is also a good way of actually building up some heat between the two of them going into that match itself. And I am looking at some notes at this point in time, just making sure I'm not skipping over anything. You also had Stephanie, Shane, and Kane in some backstage segments. Also, like a segment was just Shane and Kane. I'll get into that one here in a little bit as well. The two was Stephanie, Shane, and Kane backstage. One, like Kane's coming there, is like, I want to be the general manager of SmackDown and everything like that. And Stephanie kind of just pawns this one off on Shane, where it's like, yeah, I already know where this kind of goes. And yeah, I'm out of here for a bit. All in all, the segments weren't bad, and I do see where they're going with it. They're going in a route where people are coming in saying they want to be general manager of SmackDown, and they're pleading their case. Like Kane comes in with a resume and a recommendation letter from the Undertaker. Kind of funny that they throw that in there. In that aspect, it kind of makes it weird. It's like, yeah, Undertaker wouldn't give recommendation letters out, much less to his brother. But whatever. So they kind of throw that in there. The secondary segment at the end of the show, where all three are in there, is obviously Kane not getting the job and everything like that. Kane tries to give at least a decent funny line, which wasn't actually bad. It's like, was this him saying, it's like, was this all about the car battery, the testicles thing? I thought we would pass that. It's like, Shane was like, no, it's not about that. It's because they give him the excuses, like, because he's unstable, which. Okay, yeah, you have Corporate Kane and you have Demon King. You have both of them at the same time. So yeah, okay, the whole unstable thing. So they played off of that. And he said, no, it's not about that, but it sure didn't help your case. That's how I feel. So again, both of these segments, not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I see where they're going with it. If they continue on with it for the next couple of weeks, where people are coming in pleading their case about being the general manager of SmackDown, like you can even bring in people like Eric Bischoff or Vicky Guerrero, or if you really want to, if Brock Lesnar is going to be around at any point, you can have Paul Heyman doing some of these segments as well. If they want to go in that route, we can see where they go with it. I see where they're going with this now. It's not bad. It kind of, they do have to fill 3 hours of time, so it does actually work in this sense for them doing these on Raw. So, all in all, not bad segments, but nothing great. Nothing great about those either. You also, let's see here. Yes, this is the one I want to go into. Throughout the entire, first hour, you had a couple flashbacks from the Shield and everything like that. Them forming, them taking out Evolution, and then the eventual turn of Seth Rollins, which led into the Dean Ambrose Asylum. First of all, I know they did it after the segment, but I like the aspect that it's like, the aspect that Shane McMahon is the one that reinstated it behind Stephanie's back with the Ambrose Asylum, because obviously with continuity purposes, Stephanie had canceled the show. Now it was back, and obviously they put it that Shane was the one that brought it back. The segment itself with Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns was a lot of fun. I thought this promo was pretty fun. Obviously, Dean was there trying to be a little bit wacky and kooky himself, and then throwing in a few serious moments to go along with it. Also, note right before he brings out Rollins and Reigns, he sells the pay-per-view better than everybody else that hour beforehand did at selling the pay-per-view in that sense. But the actual segment, it was a little bit of like going down memory lane with the Shield and everything in that sense, but also bringing it into the full-on serious moments of both Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins cutting promos about the title and about the title match on Sunday. I thought this segment came off relatively good. Their promos came off, I thought they were good promos from both sides this time. This is one of those few times with Live Mike that I actually kind of liked Roman Reigns' promo. And I like the aspect that they tease in there that Dean Ambrose can win Money in the Bank, and he says, I can cash it in that night. And he also throws an aspect of he doesn't care if it's Seth or he doesn't care if it's Roman. He can cash in. And then eventually leads to the brawl. Roman Reigns lays out Seth Rollins with a Superman punch, but then Dean Ambrose actually lays out Roman Reigns with the Dirty Deeds in the segment. Again, good way of teasing the potential of what could happen at the pay-per-view on Sunday. So not a bad way of going. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there for a second. Up next, you had Paige going up against Charlotte, and you had Dana Brooke at ringside, but you also had Natty and Becky. So Paige in control throughout the entire match here. Well, not throughout the entire match, but like they had a decent back and forth. Eventually, Charlotte gets thrown out to the outside, and for some odd reason, Dana throws her back into the ring, which causes Charlotte to lose the match, and everything on that sense. First of all, again, they go with an aspect that she loses to Paige right before a pay-per-view match because they made Dana Brooke and Charlotte versus Becky Lynch and Natty at the pay-per-view. But I like they kind of recover this a little bit. I like the aspect of the backstage segment between Dana Brooke and Charlotte. I'll get into that in a few seconds because I do want to at least make mention they had Becky Lynch and Natty on commentary, and I thought they came off relatively well on commentary. Both of them, they cut a decent promo on the match and everything in that sense. Not a bad one, not bad style on them. But you also had the backstage segment with Dana Brooke and Charlotte, where Charlotte chastises Dana for costing her the match, throwing her back into the ring and everything in that sense. Not a bad segment there. I like how they make Dana Brooke feel like she's supposed to be, like Dana Brooke is coming off as like somebody who's overly confident, and now Charlotte has to put her in her place because she's supposed to only be the apprentice right now. That could play into something. So we'll see how everything goes with that tag match itself. Overall, not bad, but nothing great to really be said there. You also had a backstage segment with Stephanie and Dean Ambrose, which eventually led to Dean Ambrose having to go up against Chris Jericho later that night. Obviously, not a bad segment itself there. I kind of like this segment, and the fact that they made that match later in the evening, not a bad way of going as well there. Sorry, I gotta clear my throat again. So let's see. Let's just double check. I've already gotten to Sheamus and Zack Ryder. So okay, this is the one that I wanted to talk about because we'll get into the whole Money in the Bank, everybody in there, where they were going with that storyline throughout the night. First of all, it started off with Kevin Owens going into Shane's office. It's like trying to talk to Stephanie, or he was wanting to talk to Stephanie, but Shane's the only one there. So it's like, okay, he starts talking to him, saying that Alberto Del Rio is like only showing up like 20 minutes ago in the show, and because of unprofessional conduct, he should be removed from the Money in the Bank ladder match. And eventually, this leads to Del Rio coming in there, and losing my train of thought for a second. Del Rio comes in and says, like, Owens had done something at the airport to cause him to be kept by security for like 5 hours and something in that sense. First of all, this segment didn't really make much sense of anything because, well, they had earlier in the night they had everybody out there to begin with to do a moment of silence for the tragedies that happened in Orlando. First of all, I know I'm kind of glancing over. I kind of gave my opinions about that already, especially with TNA already doing it before. I am glad WWE did it at the beginning of the show. It does hurt this segment because, well, Del Rio's out there. Mm-hmm. So it kind of breaks that continuity in every way, shape, or form here. In that sense of everything. I mean, obviously, if you throw that out of there, that's the real life thing. This is the entertainment thing. Okay, you can kind of go with it, but some people was like, wait a minute, he was out there during this. It's like, okay. So some people are going to kind of, be mixed about where that was going. But a match was made with Owens and Del Rio. Like, Kane makes this match, too. This is still during that Kane and Shane talking with each other moment. So Kane suggests a match is like, Owens and Del Rio should team up against the Lucha Dragons. And if Owens and Del Rio lose, they're out of the Money in the Bank ladder match. Okay. Honestly, they're not going to change this. I think they're trying to build up some kind of extra drama to go along with it going into the pay-per-view. But honestly, that match really serves nothing in the end. The match with the Lucha Dragons and Owens and Del Rio, I thought was a good match. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch, but ultimately serves no real purpose. And this is the point of the show is, you feel like they're overbooking it a little bit, and I'll get to that at the end, because also you had a really good match, but rather short match with Sami Zayn and Cesaro, and that match itself was actually very fun to watch. The only thing is, I wish it could have gone on a little bit longer. They did keep it a little bit short, but it was a lot of fun to watch, and good to see a good match between those guys there. And everything. And like I said, the Lucha Dragons and Del Rio and Owens match was also a rather good match, but it didn't need to be there in any sense of everything. It was kind of just there to add some extra drama, but it was drama that you knew wasn't going to happen in any way. They weren't going to change those people like last minute like that in the storyline. Just so, like I said, in the end, really didn't serve any kind of purpose. So, like I said, this is where I feel like the overbooking kind of came in, and that was with the aspect of you had a little short segment backstage with Sami Zayn talking with Shane. So eventually this comes up as like, oh, Sami Zayn is a part of the commentary team for the Jericho Ambrose match. So Kevin Owens gets himself put on commentary through Stephanie, and then Del Rio comes in and is like, I want to be on commentary. It's like, now we got too many commentary people, so you get to be timekeeper. And then Shane eventually makes Cesaro the guest ring announcer to go along with everything. And like I said, you kind of know where this was going. The match between Dean and Chris Jericho overall was pretty good. It wasn't bad, but it felt like it was completely overbooked because you also had to kind of play off the aspect of Owens and Zayn on commentary, the timekeeper spot with Del Rio, and Cesaro, who goes out there and obviously pokes a little bit of fun at both guys as they're coming out to go along with everything. With the ring announcer side, and obviously you get a few quick squabbles and everything like that. And after Dean does eventually win the match, and the brawl happens, which you would expect, decent brawl. It ends out with Sami Zayn taking out everybody on the outside, Jericho just kind of being there, and then casually strolls up the ladder, takes the Money in the Bank contract, and just sits on the top of the ladder with it to kind of signify that he might win the match and everything in that sense. Not a bad brawl to go along with everything, and not a bad way of teasing. Like they teased it already with Cesaro grabbing the Money in the Bank. Now you needed a heel to do that as well, and they went with Jericho here. Not a bad way of going off Raw, but a little bit overbooked to go along with it at the end of the show. So, kind of good, kind of bad, like a little mix and match there. You feel like that segment was a little bit overbooked in the terms of, like, okay, why are these guys out there? Couldn't they just kind of run out during the match to kind of finish off the storyline? Instead, no, they have to be on commentary, timekeeper, and ring announcer. Like, okay, that's how we're going to get them out there. All right. Not the best way of doing it, but, I mean, the segment in the end wasn't overly bad. Just felt a little bit overbooked for what they were going for. So, this brings me to what I'll say is the best thing of the night. I will say it was the best portion of the night. The segment and contract signing with John Cena and AJ Styles. First of all, I love the aspect of Cena coming out there and talking about pretty much everything AJ Styles had done outside of the whole TNA side. Talked about Ring of Honor, New Japan, all of that stuff. Putting this guy over. With his accomplishments and everything like that, and the whole what ifs about him and AJ having to have a match at some point in time, but AJ was never brought in any way, shape, or form. So again, I thought these promos on all sides were really, really good. Like the whole aspect of AJ saying that. AJ saying it's like, if I was here, blah, all that good stuff. A good retort from John in there. You have the whole aspect that you have two contracts in the ring. You have John saying, or you have Cena saying it's like you have like two choices here. It's like a one-on-one match or a match that they face with each other, and the club will be at ringside. And it was a whole aspect of what one do you want? Do you want just the win, or do you want some kind of epic match that people have been wanting to see? And eventually, like between both sides, and eventually AJ Styles signs the contract saying the club's not going to be involved, in one way, shape, or form. They won't be initially at ringside. Maybe they come out later on. We'll see how that actual match goes in every sense of the word. But like I said, the promos between all sides here, they made it feel real in one sense. Like they had tried that the week before with the whole AJ Styles actually bringing out the whole John Cena burying people in the terms of a backstage type feel. This one felt like it was kayfabe, but they brought in more real elements towards that kayfabe, more about indies and the independent promotions and everything in that sense. And this promo came off so much better than the week before. AJ Styles as a heel his promo skills are a lot better as a heel than they are as a face. And I just thoroughly enjoyed this promo. I like the aspect that, after he signs the one-on-one contract, he shoves it in John's face. It's like now you're going to see what this independent guy can actually do inside the ring. This segment just came off really, really well and sold the match so much going into the actual pay-per-view itself. This is one of those moments that I was saying, like at the beginning of the show. There are moments on this Raw that say, I want to watch this pay-per-view. That's one of those moments. The Shield moments is the Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns segment as well. It was one of those moments. And then there are moments that make me not want to watch this show at all. And I got through those as well. So overall, this Raw was a mixed bag. A very mixed bag. There was some good. There was some really good stuff. But there was some really bad stuff and cringeworthy stuff to go along with it. Again, another Raw with a mixed bag of stuff. You would expect this to be a very promo-heavy episode, which it was. in that sense, but some of those promos just it did not sell. Like some of those promos didn't sell the pay-per-view, while some of the other promos really did. So we'll see how the pay-per-view turns out on Sunday. Luckily, like match quality-wise, these pay-per-views as of late have been really good. So we'll see if they pull off another one on Sunday on that sense with Money in the Bank. And that is my review for Monday Night Raw this week. I thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.